Father Love will find you, and a foremost expert on soulmates and spiritual dating. So tell us about spiritual dating, Catherine.
Well, it's a little different than people. When I mention dating to people, they often get really shut down. I think there's just this idea that dating's awful, and people dread doing it. People who are newly single don't want to have to get back into the dating, but they're taking it the wrong way. So when you spiritually date, it's a little different. For example, your friend who you said was really picky. You don't want to you want to be picky. Ultimately, your soulmate will be perfect for you, and you've been developing preferences your whole life to recognize them. And so they'll be your type. They'll fit better than you even thought. In many ways, they're all these extra gifts. But you don't want to wear your picky glasses on dates because you're so picky you can't see the good in that person. So if you're spiritually date, you have to look at them as someone sacred, and for a 20-minute coffee, an hour-long dinner, you're going to enjoy your time in just getting to know another person. So that's like number one. Number two is you want to take everything lightly and don't get heavy, because if you've set an intention, and certainly in my work we do something called a soul call to send out a call for your one, you know it's taken care of, so you can just have fun and not get too serious. That's number two. And number three, that you won't try to force anything, what we were talking about before. That's very important. And then you wouldn't try to make somebody fit or settle. And one thing that makes dating so much easier, this is number 5, is you quit believing in rejection. When you were little, you knew better. If somebody didn't want to play, you go find somebody else. Not all 7 billion people on the planet are going to like you. Everybody just raise your index finger. That's how many it takes. Just one. And so there's no rejection. It's just, I call it a wrong fit. And we need to quit doing that because that causes a lot of pain for no good reason. So those are the basics of spiritual dating. And my next book actually is on that subject.
What's the name of your next book?
Well, that's up for grabs.
Okay.
We'll see what it is. My agent named it one thing, and I don't know if we're going to change it or not. But that's the subject. Because dating is so hard for so many people. It's amazing.
What? I lost my train of thought there. Hang on a second. Let me get a hold of myself. When's your next book coming out?
Next year.
Okay. I'll make sure that I hear through Jennifer and get a copy.
You'll hear. I'll come to Chicago and do some book signings and workshops. I teach there every once in a while.
Wouldn't we love to have you in person on the show? Yes. Publicize you
I'd love
beforehand, get call-ins, write-ins, text-ins, email-ins with all kinds of questions. Soulmates calling us left and right, all kinds of love whizzing around the studio. Okay. What are some ways people can bring love into their lives? For those of us.
Remember I mentioned sending out a soul call, right?
Yes.
And so there's a way that I do that formally with people, but any of you guys listening can just send out like an energetic invitation. Just close your eyes and send out an invitation for that person who was meant to be with you and who's actually earmarked for you. Invite them into your life. That's number one. And then I do a little extra thing to seal the deal. And that is what I did, and it actually worked, is I went and bought a card for the person I wasn't with, because I was producing soulmates for everybody while I was still single. And I bought this card that said, "Forever is not long enough for you." And I put it on, I have a little altar in my house. I put it on there. It got yellowed and a little sun-faded. And then I got to give it to my husband on our wedding day. And so you do something like that. It doesn't have to be that. It could be clearing a drawer out in your home to make room for, kind of symbolic room. It could be buying a gift or making unstructured time if you're a workaholic. Just do something that symbolizes that you're inviting them in, like something concrete. And then you'll get to do it. You'll get to give it to them. Or that drawer that you cleared out will be filled with your love stuff.
Souvenirs from your dates.
That's how you invite love in. That's a big, big way to start. You can write an intention, which is, there's a great power. I do them regularly, and all of my early ones did happen, and all the people I helped to do that, they see them happen. You write down what you want very specifically, and that's setting an intention. And then, of course, release the delays we've been talking about. Work on getting over your cynicism or letting go of your ex. Any delays you have, you need to get rid of those.
What do you think is the hardest part, though, for singles?
I think the hardest thing is just having faith that you will get love. Just the thought of it and not knowing who it is. For most people, they don't know their soulmate yet. And it's just the not knowing. But these days, it's easier because there are more singles. The latest census said there are more singles than people who are married. And so being in the majority makes you feel less lonely during that time. And I always say loneliness is good because it's like a vacuum that must be filled, but you don't want to fill it with junk. You want to guard that vacuum that you have right now until the right person comes. And that's where being picky is useful.
Sure, but not picky because the guy doesn't have enough hair. Because, we'll be on a tread.
We have a physical type because that's a kind of a radar for our soulmate. However, I can give you an example right now of somebody who did my work, met, and really wanted the same thing, a guy with hair, and ended up with this guy with a cue ball of a head who she adores, and he is the sexiest thing to her. So it's good. What it's nice to say is this or something better. So if God has the most gorgeous bald guy on the planet for this woman, then she'll know it, and she'll think he's attractive, even though she said that. Because when you love somebody, you love them for them. So if you didn't like hairy chest, this is an example in my book, and your soulmate has a hairy chest, you love every hair on that chest because it's their hair. That's how love works. Sure. So, yeah.
I heard, you might know this quote. I can't remember exactly who said it or if I'm even going to say it right, but it's, love is not loving a perfect person. It's loving an imperfect person perfectly.
That's a good one. I haven't heard that, but I love that.
I'll find out who said it, and I'll email you the quote. It's a real good one.
Great.
Yeah. I have a question. Your book looks like a college textbook now with all kinds of sticky notes and flags and underlines and highlighting. Can one be confident and still need reassuring from their one? Like, can you be a real confident person, but still, when you're in the privacy or the intimacy of a relationship with your one, can you still be confident but still need reassuring from that one, from your one?
Yeah, of course. Being in love is so vulnerable, and that's part of the hard thing about opening to love, is you feel so fragile in a way. And so being with your soulmate can be healing, and the most confident person will probably have some pockets of insecurity just because of the way we're socialized these days. Little kids know they're perfect. We don't. But when your soulmate is kissing you all over your belly, it's hard to have, big belly issues anymore. When they're adoring you, it's very healing. But yeah, and that's what your soulmate tends to do, is reassure you and help you know just how lovable you really are. And that is the truth, that you are.
Isn't that incredible? Another thing struck me in your book, it's You Can Be Happy Now. It's on page 180. Number 2, this one I read several times during the week sometimes because we all have fits of insecurity. I don't care how confident we are. May I read it? May I quote?
Sure.
When an occurrence is bringing you down or causing you worry, take a moment to examine why you are being affected in a negative way. Write down the meaning that you are ascribing to this particular situation. For example, the guy you went out with isn't calling right away for a second date. Your interpretation, you blew it somehow and he's never going to call. The truth, Catherine Alice says in her book, he does call in a week. A big project came up at work, and he was so consumed that he didn't have time to think about his social life until he got a handle on the job at hand. Or maybe he doesn't call, but you're able to remember that you do have a soulmate out there, and clearly he's not it, so you got to make that okay. So you move on without turning one forgotten call into the thought that you'll never get love. So I think that's very important, especially when an occurrence is bringing you down or causing you worry. Take a moment to examine why you are being affected in a negative way, and I don't think enough of us really do that personally.
Well, we tend to, I think we're taught, or maybe it's human nature, just to blow one little thing into this big meaning. And when you're single and looking for love, one little blip on the radar somehow comes to mean you'll never get love. And so you're doing this to yourself, causing unneeded pain. And I'm talking to who's listening or who might have that. Mm-hmm. And therefore, it behooves you not you, but, you know, the listener,
person,
whoever this applies to get rid of that tendency to blow something way beyond what it actually means. People have different communication styles. Maybe your soulmate is not in town yet. It doesn't matter. You'll still get love. And so to keep things small and get over them more quickly is kind to yourself and makes it go quicker, too.
Always have to be kind to yourself. Even when you're dieting, you got to be kind to yourself.
That's right. Are you dieting?
Well, you know what? I lost 130 pounds in 2.5 years by cutting white starch and sugar from my diet. I've maintained my weight loss now. Yeah.
That's amazing.
On my own, no gastric bypass. Cut white starch and sugar from my diet. Made daily cardio, walking, my daily cardio minimum of 1 hour a day. And since January 1st of 2003, I've walked over 25,000 miles. I've walked around the earth at the equator. And I've managed to keep my weight off and shed another 20. And so I'm a certified wellness coach and motivational lifestyle writer and speaker. And I do a seminar called Commit to Get Fit. And in town here, I do Elgin's Biggest Loser. And it's the same kind of thing. You got to be kind to yourself. You know?
Yeah, wow, congratulations.
Thank
That
you.
is really something.
Thank you. Okay, why is our divorce rate so high right now? Why do you think?
I think that in the past there have been a lot more pressure to get married by a certain age, and people these days were better, and so it's probably going to start going down. But people got married for the wrong reasons. People should not have gotten married.
Sure.
They're in the wrong relationship. They didn't wait for their soulmate.
Sure.
And I think that will be rectified. These days there's no pressure. People have children, you know, without getting married, and marriage is not such a given. We're more free, which is healthier because you can wait and not get married until you meet the one.
Do you think that marriage is necessary even when you do meet the one, the soulmate? If you guys are older, if you're both divorced multiple times or whatever, you can still have a very, what's the word that I want? Satisfying, fulfilling, rewarding relationship, a completeness with your soulmate without marriage?
I do. It depends on what you want, because a lot of people don't want it. They might want a spiritual marriage, or they really don't want to have that kind of commitment. But though they do decide they're spending their lives together, as long as it stays good, I don't judge that. I mean, having said that, I have to say I have a huge wall of weddings. Thousands of people have found love and got married through my work, and I'm married, so I do like the institution, and it certainly works for me. But it's not for everybody, and I do have a lot of people who do my work, find their soulmate, and they're living happily in sin.
Good.
Just having fun, because it really, and that's my southern, how a lot of my southern relatives might put it. I don't judge that, but whatever you want, you can have. And I agree with the idea of finding what you want and not trying to go by what somebody else says you have to or you should. You have to find what works for you.
Isn't that true with everything?
It kind of is, isn't it?
It is. No, it is, because that's what I teach when I do my Commit to Get Fit. I don't care what diet you're going to go on. Pick one and go on the one that's worked the best for you throughout your entire life.
Yeah.
Because everybody has one.
Your food.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds perfect. Wow, that's a great diet.
What advice can you give us to get through those crazy early days of dating when you're sweating phone calls and agonizing over whether it'll keep going or not? Because I know some of my friends are like, they want to know this.
Well, my best technique is to remind yourself, I've set an intention for love, it's coming, and I'm not going to put that kind of pressure on this. It's putting myself through unnecessary grief. So I'm going to get busy, get my ducks in a row in case this does go. I'll be set. When I disappear off the planet, happily in love for a while, everything's all set to go. And I'm going to get busy because you're too precious to get all caught up in something when it is exciting when you're feeling a spark and things are going well. But also anything basically to soothe oneself. And so it could be, we all have different communication styles. And some people really don't call as much as you would want. But they're totally already know they're marrying you. But meanwhile, they're taking their time because they feel like, I'll call, I'll make a date, but I'm busy this week. And they just don't like phone. People literally don't like phones or don't like too much email. And so people can give themselves a break knowing that and not getting caught up on some little detail to let you know. Have a little more faith in that, because people can have faith that you will get love, it will happen, and you don't need to do that. And it's just a way of torturing yourself, really.
Mm-hmm. Some people, I think my friend likes the torture, personally. I think she likes the torture.
She might be used to it.
Yeah.
And there's a certain level of excitement in not knowing, but not knowing that's that disconnected and that fearful is absolutely unnecessary.
How can people find out more about your work?
Well, I have a website, which is the best place to start, because there are a lot of free articles and quizzes, and you can even get a free report. You can sign up, and we send you a free report and a recording to kind of back up what your people are hearing now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's KathrynAlice.com, KathrynAlice.com. And the very best representation of my work, and a very easy introduction, because it's like a very quick read, is my book, Love Will Find You, or my CD called Manifesting Love.
I love that CD.
One of those two.
Oh,
yeah.
I have very good meditations. I put them on my iPod, both Manifesting Love and Releasing a Person. And Love Will Find You, like I said, is the name of Kathryn Alice's book, 9 Magnets to Bring You and Your Soulmate Together. It's absolutely outstanding. Here's what I wanted to ask you. Somebody asked me today, what if you're in a long-term relationship and the soulmatedness has simmered, cooled down, or gone away? What do you suggest? We're talking long-term relations here.
Right. Well, you can bring it back to soulmate level. The biggest mistake I see people make is starting to take things for granted and getting caught up in stupid, mundane stuff that really does not matter. Instead, and if you refocus back on why you enjoyed that person to begin with, why you love them, and how wonderful it is to be together, it'll get better. If you're making anything a big issue, to let that go and just trust it'll work out. Sometimes I tell people, especially if they're at loggerheads and have a lot of discord, set a secret intention and never tell that person, and you'll get it. But butting heads only makes them dig their heels in more anyway. So if it's a strife situation, but if it's just sheer boredom, then definitely focusing back on the love, because when you get it back to soulmate level, the honeymoon's better than it was at the beginning, because you have this level of trust and knowledge of each other that goes even deeper. And also, I also suggest to people, keep growing together, keep trying new things, not to force excitement, but just because there's so many things to do together, and you're always finding out new things. I was with my husband out. We've been traveling the world for 4 years, like island hopping, since my book came out. I get to speak in a lot of places. And we were out on a sailboat in the middle of a storm that came up all of a sudden out of nowhere, a squall. And he guided us. He had a sailing badge as a Boy Scout, and guided us safely back to shore. In the middle of this storm that was scaring me to death. It was a really serious storm. And I learned, we've been married for years, and I didn't know he could sail like that, and was so good in the middle of a crisis. And so you'll always learn new things about each other when you're trying new stuff. And so those are some of my recommendations for getting it back to soulmate level. And I think there's every hope to do so, no matter how long it's been or how far it feels like it's gotten off.
What if they weren't soulmates to begin with and the boredom set in? Do you know what I mean?
You can work on making it get to soulmate level, and people have realized later in life they are. Never say never, but it's not a good enough reason to stay in if it's stale and it's not working out. It's just, if it's never going to fit, then it's going to be a change to be single again. But fear of being alone is not enough to keep you in something that's not working.
I think too many people have that fear. I see too many unhappy.
I know they do, but it's too bad, because to live life in that kind of misery or being half estranged is worse than being alone.
Let's get a little personal now. I want to ask you, what do you think is the secret to your success?
You mean in my marriage or in my work?
In your work. Not personally. But if you want to tell us personally, but I'm taking it is everything you write, everything you speak, you're speaking from personal experience also.
I am. I walk my talk, and not everybody does. If anybody's looking at different books on love and dating, it's probably a good idea to see where that person is. And if their life is a love train wreck, that's kind of a warning. Now, some people might not have manifested their soulmate. In my early days of doing this work, I didn't. But my love life was not so traumatic. But some of these love gurus out there have crashed and burned in a majorly dramatic way.
Mm-hmm.
So I do recommend that. And I certainly walk my talk. I have a super happy, amazing marriage. But in terms of professionally, I think that people, when I went to sell my book in New York, we met with 9 publishers, and people were scared to say soulmate. Like, they actually, if anything is possible in this world, and if the concept of soulmates has been around since civilized time has existed, it's got to be true. You got to be able to have that. But people are scared to set the bar that high in love because they're very limited. And I think my success might be that I am willing to go that far. I don't believe love has limits, and I believe everybody can get a soulmate no matter how much you weigh or how old you are or anything like that. It's immaterial. You get love. And the fact that I raise the bar so high and hold such a bright torch of hope for people, I think really helps my career to have gotten to where it is now.
There's a couple things. I have some notes here. They just kind of sum up what your book and your CDs are about. And there are 6 points. I think I took them from your website. One would be, nothing will keep love from you.
Yes.
Number 2, even if you never leave the house, your soulmate will find you. He could be the UPS man.
And that's true. My southern way is they'll have a wreck in your yard if you don't get out much.
A wreck. And then you are never too old, too fat, or too poor for love, which you just said. And there is no such thing as rejection, only the wrong fit.
Mm-hmm.
And relationships and dating are not a numbers game. It only takes one, and that's the right one.
Yes.
I cannot. Do you have anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with?
2 things.
Good.
One is that also, let's let go of the idea that relationships are hard and you have to work at them, because that sounds horrible. And it's nothing like when you're floating several inches above the air in love. And so forget that. With your soulmate, it's not hard at all, and it's not work either. And number 2 is, if anybody is listening has started to give up hope about love, I invite you to have all the hope in the world. You do have hope for love, for sure.
Cool. I want to thank you for being a wonderful guest today. Catherine Alice, thanks for coming on the Laura Dion-Jones Show today. We wish you all the best in all of your endeavors, and we hope you'll come back on in the near future and coach some of us on how to find and keep our true soulmate. And when you come to Chicago, girlfriend, we are going to lunch, and you're coming out to the show.
Oh, I would love to.
They would
Laura.
love to
Well,
have you out here. Thank you so much for your time and for your excellent book and CDs, and it's just wonderful what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
You're listening to the Laura Dion-Jones Show every Wednesday afternoon from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time on WRMN 1410 AM. And it's that time again, kids. And on that note, we'd like to thank everyone for being with us today. My gang, Jeff, Mike, Valerie the Swan, and thanks to today's very special guest, Catherine Alice, all the way from L.A., author of bestseller Love Will Find You. It's an outstanding book. And, of course, thank you to all of our loyal listeners. And be sure to tune in to find out what's shaking here on the Laura Dion-Jones Show every Wednesday afternoon, 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, Dr. Cynthia Glickman, she's a Ph.D., and she is called the Joy Doctor. And she's going to be doing a seminar next Saturday at the Unitarian Church in Elgin, which I might attend because it looks really good. And on November 2nd, criminy, November already, a terrific woman's wellness show. And on November 9th, again, Tony Horton, originator of P90X, the #1 hottest fitness video program in the world, will be here to talk fitness and getting ready for the holidays, and also a manufacturer of an awesome bike called Watt, W-A-T-T bike. Look it up. Watt bike. So please tune in and tell all your friends to tune in too. And you know we've got a lot more fun and surprises in store in the weeks ahead. And we're looking for people also who have lost a great deal of weight, about 100 pounds or more, and have kept it off for several years. Tell them, or if you're one of those people, to email us at Dion-Jones Dionjones at AOL.com, or you can reach me through my elgin.bocajump.com and through the blog articles. You can see my contact information there. And today's show has been brought to you by
good folks that we call Dr. Claire Elias, as you know, and also, how about Driving Billy, Azarella Driving School for you.
And thanks to snobhounds.com, Think Nike meets Donna Karen Butt for canines. And thanks again, Casey, for making this show possible. And please get everyone you know to read my motivational blog at elginbocajump.com. Hey, it's my show. I can plug whatever I want. And as one of my best gal pals, Carol Sumbry, dog trainer to the stars, says, men are just like dogs. They want to avoid conflict at all costs and still get the cookie. But with dogs and men, we can fix what we can fix and manage the rest. And just like dogs, men will steal the steak right off your plate when you ain't looking.
Wow.
Thanks for listening. See you next week. We all love being here with you. Hey, Mikey, thanks for the happy. Let's keep our 90,000 troops over in Afghanistan in our prayers. Semper Fi, kids. Peace. And now for Adele's Set Fire to the Rain.
I let it fall